Hey guys, I know it's been a while and everything, but I'm probably not going to be doing batch file tutorials anymore. I've actually kind of moved on to HTML and JavaScript now. So I just thought, why not? Why shouldn't I just try and start a new series? I'll just try and teach you guys some JavaScript and HTML, and we'll see how that goes. I really hope you guys enjoy this one and learn a little bit of HTML and JavaScript. If you don't, that's completely fine. It doesn't really matter too much, but I just thought I'd see and pique your interest maybe something a little bit different for a change. But the first thing you want to do when creating an HTML or JavaScript game, or actually maybe just JavaScript, you can't really make a game in HTML, but you want to create the HTML file first. So we'll just call it index.html. Now what HTML does is, I guess you can kind of say, it links all your JavaScript and CSS files and kind of displays it. Without HTML, you can't really do anything with JavaScript or CSS. HTML is kind of the key towards that all. So when creating a new game or just a function or something on HTML, whatever you're doing, you will always need JavaScript. So we'll just also create a JavaScript file, so we'll call it script.js. And then that will do it for today. I don't actually know too much in CSS, but I know a little bit, which I can probably make a tutorial on that. It's going to be very basic, because I don't know too much on that, but for now I'll just do it in HTML and JavaScript. So to start it off, you just want to press the exclamation mark button, so Shift and 1, and then you'll see it prints this on the script here, and you just want to click Enter. Or you can just click the little extra exclamation mark. Now what this does is it just prints out everything in your document just by itself automatically, and it just saves a lot of guesswork and everything. So the first thing you want to do is, well, it's not necessary, but you might as well just change the title. So what the title does is it sets the tab title. So if we were to name it game, and we went here, reloaded the page, and now it says game at the top. Now if we were to go here and change it to let's go tutorial or something like that, we went here, it would change the tab name to tutorial. So that's what title does. It's not necessary, but you know, if you want to make it look professional, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to leave it as tutorial. So what you can do now is you can press P on your keyboard. It will give you a automatic thing that you can press here, and it just gets all the stuff out for you. Now something I would really recommend is Visual Studio Code. It's so handy. It does a lot of the guesswork that you don't have to do, and whenever you're making a game, I find this really important, and it saves so much time. Another thing I like about Visual Studio Code is that it auto completes a lot of stuff for you, which is really handy, time saver and everything. But now let's just get back to the tutorial. So the first thing is, you'll notice that once you press P, or when you type P and then press enter, if you have Visual Studio Code that is, it will come up with this. So what that means is, in these two arrows here, this is the text that will be displayed on the screen. So if I were to write hello, my YouTube name, or we'll just do YT name is New Tricks, then what would happen is that if we went onto the document and refreshed the page, it would print that on the screen. So that's pretty much what the P does. That is short for paragraph, I'm pretty sure. But if, say, you wanted to change the position of this, so maybe you didn't want, let's say, it to be, the text to be here, and maybe you wanted it to be somewhere in the middle, like here, then what you would have to do is go and press here next to the P, and then press space, and then you want to type in style, and then you want to just press enter, and then it should just come up with this. Otherwise, you can just type it in yourself. And then what you can do is you go position, and then we go absolute, set how far away we want the text here to be from the left side of the document. So we'll just go, let's go 300 pixels from the left side of the document. And then we can also set how far we want the text to be away from the top side of the document. So we'll go, I reckon we'll go 200 pixels. So now you'll see, if you look here, I haven't refreshed the page yet, so nothing has happened. But if you note where the text is here, and if I refresh the page, it's all the way down here now. So that's what style does. Maybe if you want to make a neat or neater type of game, this really comes in handy. So what we can do now is we will learn how to use a button or an on-click function kind of thing. So if we typed in but or just but like that or two T's, whatever, and then just clicked enter, most of the time it does, but I have installed this weird tab 9 thing. I'm just trying it out, but usually if you just type in button, it just prints it out for you instantly like that. So what you want to do is pretty much, you'll see you've got all this text on the screen here, and this is, again, kind of like with the P, these two arrows here is what text will be displayed on top of the button. So if we went and did, click me, then you'll see here, the button is here, and it says click me. So pretty much all you do in these two arrows here is the text that you want displayed on the button. Now this can be however long you want, it doesn't really matter. The button will just expand as long as the text goes. So that's pretty much what that does. And say you want to click the button and something happens. That is, if you're still new to this thing, it can maybe get a little bit tricky. Otherwise it is completely easy if you have done a little bit of JavaScript and HTML. So what you do is you do on click. You want to make sure you're doing this not in the arrows, you make sure you're doing it inside next to button. So you want to do on click, and then let's say when the button is clicked, we want to go to the function called my function, something like that. So what this does, I'll explain in a second, but for now we're just going to go to JavaScript. I'm just going to make it a little bit neater and go down a couple lines, and we're going to type in function and then my function. Now, then you want to type in a couple brackets there, just like I have now. And now, to explain what everything does. So, when the button is clicked, it's going to go to the function called myFunction, which is in the JavaScript here. It is called myFunction. So, it's going to basically initiate or activate anything inside of this function here. That's pretty much what that does. But before we go any further, we want to link this JavaScript file to our HTML. Otherwise, it won't know what we're talking about. So in order to do that, it's really, really simple. All you do is you type in script here, and as you see, it's auto-corrected for us, and then you just type in source here, and then you just type in the name of your JavaScript file, and then .js. That just means, that's just short for JavaScript. So my script is called script.js, so that's what I type in there. If I had called it, let's say, code.js, then I type in code.js in here. It doesn't have to be that, it's not necessary, but, you know, for the tutorial we're just calling it that. Now what we want to do in the function, so let's say when the button is clicked, it's going to go to my function, and we're going to display on the console. Let's do, you have clicked me. Let's just type that in. So what this does is it displays a message in the console, and it says you have clicked me. So I'll show you what the console is in a second. If we were to refresh the page here and press Control-Shift-I all at the same time, and then we went to the console tab here, and then we clicked the button, it would say in the console you have clicked me. Now we can do way more advanced stuff than just console.log or displaying messages in the console. This is kind of just to wrap your head around things. Hopefully you understand it so far. But we're going to do one more thing before we end this episode, and we're just going to learn a little bit, we're just going to touch base on variables, and we'll learn a little bit more about that in the next episode. But we're just going to do very basic. We'll just go here, we're going to declare a variable, so we're going to do variable, and then whatever you want to call it. So let's say, variable 1, and then let's just set its value to let's say 0, and then now we have declared a variable to equal something. So this doesn't have to be 0. If you wanted it to equal, let's say, a name or words or any sort of character, you would want to do in quotes and then what you want to call it. So if you wanted to declare your variable or define it as, let's say, my pet is a dog, then you'd have to do that. If you didn't do these quotes, it would give you so many errors. But that's because it is trying to it's trying to define it as some variables. It's really complicated stuff if you're new to this, so don't worry about it. Let's just go for 0 for now. So what we can do here is we can go here, and let's say when we go to this function, let's go console.log, and then let's display our variable in here. So if we were to type variable1 in here without any quotes, what would happen is, I'll show you, if we were to refresh the page and click the button, it would display 0. Now that's because it's displaying the value of that variable. Now if we were to change this variable to, let's say, like 500, then what would happen is we refresh the page and click it, it displays it as 500. Now this doesn't have to necessarily be numbers, it can be anything really. And if we wanted to make it as text, we can go, let's say, my pet is a dog. Then what would happen is, if we went here, refresh the page and click the button, it would display that as text because it is displaying the value of that variable. Now, this video was really just a touch base on HTML and JavaScript to see if you guys enjoyed it or not. Let me know if you guys did, because I'm going to be coming out with a video really soon on variables and everything on JavaScript. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next tutorial. See ya!